I'm Kathleen Walker. This is Andy Shirting. We're with New England Endurance Events, and this is the Gut Check 2024 Athletes Meeting. Thank you guys for all being here. In just a minute, and I have my own PowerPoint. You don't need to get on that one. I'm going to switch over to a screen share, and it will have like all the information about the race. Usually our format for these is the first part of our meeting tonight will be anything new happening this year. I realize that there's some of you that have done Gut Check with us. Gut Check is now in its 10th year. And we changed formats right before COVID, right? 2019?
Yes.
Okay. So in 2019, we changed the format to be an adventure race. And we do have some people who might or might not be on tonight that have actually done every single Gut Check, and certainly every one of the adventure races. And because every year it's different, it makes sense to be on, at least catch the new stuff, and then we'll kind of move forward from there throughout the meeting. The last part of our meeting, we will answer anything in chat. So if you've got a question that comes up, throw it in chat. And when we get to the end of everything else we want to tell you, we'll go through and answer those questions. Some of you have kind of specific questions that have come up via email, or it might be a question you've just been hanging on to, just waiting for tonight. So by all means, put that in chat. I'm also going to throw in chat Maureen's email. Now, Maureen is one of our most amazing assistant race directors. Dawn is the other one, but she doesn't receive email. So, and actually Dawn has been with us since the very first Gut Check. And I think Dawn was a participant in the first one, wasn't she?
Possibly.
I think
Dawn
so.
does
Dawn
get
would know that.
She does get emails. She's just not very
Just not with us. So you guys are all in good hands. Let me go ahead and switch over to share my screen. So here you go. I'm going to take over your computer screen. And we'll start with basics and we'll work our way from there. So basic stuff. What do you need to know? Packet pickup at Nickerson State Park, Friday, 4:30 to 6. On Friday, it's at Area 6. So if you go into Nickerson State Park, and then you just keep following that main road all the way up until you see Area 6 on your left. You're going to think that maybe you missed it somewhere along the way because it's like a few miles up there, but sure enough, it's going to be on your left. You won't miss it because the park gate is closed a little farther ahead. Race morning, though, you're going to show up at the main parking lot. And there you will pick up your packet. If you pull into, and I'll show you a map in a minute. If you pull into Nickerson State Park, there is on the right, there's a big parking lot. If you go all the way over to the end of that, where you'll see some porta potties, or not porta potties, actually the real bathrooms, and we'll have our tent there. So that's where you're going to pick up your packet. With that, you will get a map of the park, not a race map, but just a map of the park that will have noted on there where you're dropping off your paddleboard, if you have that, and where you're dropping off your bike. And then once you drop off your bike, then we'll be able to direct you to the start. And of course, you get your map right before the race begins. So what we're providing for you, for all the swimmers, you need a race belt because you can't swim if you've got a bib safety pin to you. So all swimmers will get a race belt. We'll also give all individuals and teams whistles, compasses, and that laminated map. And then we have safe swimmer buoys for swimmers, for anyone who does not already have a safe swimmer buoy, because you will need to carry your shoes with you when you swim. So if you don't already have a safe swimmer buoy or a dry bag that you want to use, then we've got a safe swimmer buoy we can give you. For those that have not gotten a paddleboard yet, we still have some available to rent, and that's thanks to Safari Adventures. If you decide to switch from swim to paddleboard, we still have those available. Just send us a note, and then you can buy it through your account or rent it through the account. But we need to be able to give a number for Safari. So it would be helpful if you at least say, hey, I'm going to take care of this in just a little bit, Maureen, and there's her email in there. You know, just make sure that you save one for me. So the other things you need to be aware of, your paddleboard, your bike and its gear, and when with your SUP, you also need your PFD and and of course a paddle would be really helpful. Everyone on the water has to have on the SUP, you have to have a PFD, or at least a safe swimmer buoy that's attached to you. So if you go in the water, at least you've got something that floats. So far, we've never had anyone fall off of a paddleboard. I think we've come kind of close, but no one's actually fallen off. But we still, for safety, you still need to have one. Course hydration will be at several points within the course. And then our timing is start and finish. And then when you go to each checkpoint, we literally check you off our list so we know you came across there. So for some reason, which doesn't happen often, someone gets lost, we can say, well, the last time we saw them was checkpoint 4. Now we have an idea of where we might be able to hunt you down. We will be doing, and I'm going to take off share for just a sec so I can show you, so it'll be a little bit bigger. Oops, wait a minute. Only if I get it right. Hold on just a sec. There you go. So so if you've raced with us in the past, we've tried all different things with with your bib. We've tried stamps, which don't always work. We've tried the hole punches, which worked only some of the time. So we have a new way of going about it today. So we have these little like party band bracelets. You can fit them on your wrist and they stretch out quite nicely. But if you don't want to do that, we'll also give you, just ask when you go to pick up your packet. We've got a little carabiner, and the carabiner you can clip to, whatever it is you want, whether it's, like your clothing or a race belt or what have you. And then every time you go to a checkpoint, then you'll just slide this in or you'll put this on your wrist. This is how we know that you got to each checkpoint. So it's really important that you don't lose these or break them for that matter. So that will be our way of going about this year. So that way we can make sure that you've gotten to every checkpoint. Sometimes someone will get to checkpoint, let's say 1, 2, 3, they skipped 4 by accident, they ended up at 5, and we don't want you to get to the finish line and go, oops, sorry, you missed a checkpoint. So instead that our volunteer at 5 will say, oh, you got to go back and get 4 first. So that way you can stay in order. It is important to be in order. All right, I am going to go back to sharing my screen. There you go. All right, so the next, see, okay, make sure I've got everything on here. All team members must be present at every checkpoint and and at the finish line. So your whole team goes together. Every once in a while, you get someone that lags behind a little bit. That's fine. Just when you get to the checkpoint, wait a minute until you've got all of your team members and then check in. And then do the same thing with the finish line. So we have had in years past where you've got 4 team members, 3 of them go through and they're all excited because they get through the finish line, and the 4th member is still climbing the stairs. So if you guys are all together, that's what counts, is when that last person crosses the finish line. If you're solo, that's easy enough. We will have award ceremony, and it is 1st, 2nd, 3rd for each of the teams. And then our solo racers is the 39 and under, 40 plus, male, female, non-binary. All right. USAT membership. Here's a little word about USAT. USAT is our sanctioning body. It's what covers us for our race insurance. It also covers you for any accidents that might happen. Sometimes someone trips, particularly you're out in the trail and you sprain your ankle, you're not sure if it's that, you have to have an MRI, all that stuff adds up, right? Medical bills add up. So the USAT, by you having that membership, it's a supplemental insurance on top of whatever insurance you already have. So that will save you, instead of having to pay a deductible or what have you. USAT insurance picks that up. And so that for you is why you have a USAT membership. It's also a requirement of sanctioned races. This is the QR code right here. You can either follow all the emails that you get that say your registration isn't finished until you do this. You can click that if you want to, or you can right now just take care of it and put your phone to the screen and it will take you right over to the USAT membership page. You will not be able to do, in years past, you have been able to do like a paper waiver and membership, and then you just hand us 15, or now it's $13, but you can't do that anymore. USAT changed their rules. Okay, Andy's saying, move on, move on. All right. Are you ready? Schedule. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna change that to 4:30. I'll change 4:30 to 6 for packet pickup. Saturday, you guys show up at 7:30. You'll need a little bit of time because you have to start at the bottom of the hill at the beginning of Nickerson to get your packet, and then you have to drop off your bike, possibly drop off a paddle board, and then get yourself over to the start. So that takes a little bit of time, so you need to allow for that. You want to be at the start area by 8:45. I'm handing out that maps about 8:50. And then of course we'll start it at 9 o'clock. So you've got the other information there. We are sold out, but there's a few spaces that keep opening up, which means if you have a friend that wants to race, then send a note to Maureen and she'll send a special link to your friend. We also have a rain date. I didn't tell you that. So
I'm the one who came up.
I
with
know,
the
I know,
idea.
but I double checked and we do. So I checked with the park today to make sure that they were still okay if we had a rain date. That doesn't mean if it's a little drizzle, but sometimes at gut check it pours. So as long as Sunday's weather looks better than Saturday's weather, then we will let you know if it's like, hey, we're gonna do the rain date instead.
Saturday's fine.
Right now, Saturday's fine.
Yeah, and
Right.
we're close enough, I'm sure.
Okay. All right. So we're planning on Saturday, but know that there is a rain date. All right. What to bring with you. I think most of this is on our website. A road bike, it can be a mountain bike, but you may only ride it on the roads. Of course, your bike helmet. With your paddle, you have to have a paddle board. And as I mentioned, a life vest, a PFD, or a swim buoy attached to you. You'll want shoes that can get wet on the trails. Most people bring a Sharpie marker. You'll want one with a felt tip, not one of those hard tips. And you'll want it to be thin. So that tends to work best because we're giving you a laminated map. So that laminated, you're not going to be able to use obviously pencil or pen. So so we found that the Sharpies fine point Sharpie that's felt works the best. We say long pants and tights. You are on some trails that are narrow. They're not quite animal trails. They are, but they're, running trails. And if you, poison ivy, ticks, things like that. So feel free to wear pants if you need to. And then it will be mid-60s, the water and the air. So you might want an extra layer to throw on, and bug spray sunscreen, of course. Most people have some kind of backpack or a dry bag. And I would recommend the dry bag, even if you're a paddle boarder, just to make sure that all of your stuff's not going to get wet, because you're going to want to put that map and everything in there. Packet pickup, as we said, there we go, 4:30 as it's supposed to be. And then, just in case you didn't know, I hope you did before you signed up, expecting to paddle 1.25 miles to 2.5 miles, and then swimming 1/2 mile to 3/4 of a mile. And then your bike doesn't sound like a lot, oops, but it is, but there is some nice hills in there, and then running. And we say 4 to 7 because you might be very direct and you know the trails already, and you're going to be able to get in and get out to each checkpoint, or you might get a little detoured. So keep that in mind. It happens all the time. Usually people will just get back on track, but it's part of the fun. All right, so I was telling you packet pickup on Saturdays right here. If you're coming on Friday, this is the main entrance. You're just going to go all the way through, and you're going to come all the way to Area 6. Come all the way inside Area 6, because that's where we'll be. I'm not going to say we're setting up, but that's where we're going to be. So you'll want to come there, and that way you can get your packet. We'll tell you where you can bring your bike and your paddleboard once you come over to 6. Here's an example of the map for anyone who hasn't raced with us before. You have a map. It's got all the trails on here. It also shows the road, which is only for bikes. And then this year you will not have a hint. That was a hint in 2022, because otherwise everyone would miss that trail. That is not the case. You have no hints this year. But you will have stars, and it will say a checkpoint of where you go. For those that are paddling and swimming, this year's a little different. You're not always in the same pond. So we have two different maps. So if you're a paddler, you're going to get a paddler map. If you are a swimmer, you're going to get a swimmer map, and they're slightly different. So if you're running, if you're on the trails and you see somebody else and someone let's say makes a left, don't automatically assume that that's the way you want to go. Look at your map, because they might be either a swimmer or a paddle boarder. So you've got to follow your own map, or at least look over the shoulder and see. It will be right here. I've got actually this different colors this year for the paddle versus swim, and it says paddler's map and swimmer's map. So if nothing else, at least look over that person's shoulder that you're about to follow and make sure that they are on the same map you are. But we do give all of our points here. So in 2022, you started here, you got to checkpoint 1, and you did that by running. So you can see right down here with the key. So you knew you had to run there, and then you had to run from 1 to 2. And so you ran from there, and then you came back around, and then you biked. So it'll be the same kind of thing. We will tell you what you're doing between each checkpoint. And if there's anything special that you need to know about that checkpoint. We also give you notes here so you don't forget. So no running on paved roads. That includes in the camp areas that are outside of wherever it is that you're starting. We have to avoid campsites because there are still campers in some of the areas within the park. And the idea is for no one to even realize we're there. So that makes it easier for the campers, and it also makes it more fun because you're like, oh, I'll take this road. And you're like, oh, shoot, it's a camp area. I can't go that way. I got to go a different way. And so it just makes it that much more fun and better for everybody all around. We also tell on this year's map, it will say where the bathrooms are and what checkpoints have nutrition. So here's the aid stations. We have Gatorade, we have water. Boom is like a goo gel, but it's all natural. And then we have these other products that will be at each of the aid stations, which you'll see on your map. You'll know which ones are which. So if you need anything else, if you don't like anything on this list, bring your own to make sure that you've got something. All right. Each checkpoint is going to have a flag. Now, we don't have flags for every single checkpoint because that would be a lot. So instead, we use all the flags that we have over the course of the season. In this case, it's bike out, and this was looks like for Hyannis, one of the Hyannis races. So the flag that you see doesn't necessarily correlate to what you're doing. It's just a flag so that way you know that there's a checkpoint there. So, it might be bike out, you might be running to it, you might be swimming from it. It doesn't matter. You see a flag, and then you'll know, oh, that's something that I might want to pay attention to. Keeping in mind that some of the checkpoints are different for swimmers versus paddle boarders. So just because it's a flag, make sure to look. We will have a little sign right by each flag, and it will say swim checkpoint 1 or swim checkpoint 2 or paddle checkpoint 5 or what have you. So make sure to take a look at that, so that way you'll get to the right checkpoint. All right. And then of course they give you that little band and off you go. So very fancy. You will need your shoes in some races. You don't need shoes through the swim. This time you will. So you will need your shoes from one end of the swim to once you get to the other end of the swim. There's more than one swim. I will give you that hint. And so you need to have your shoes. We have, I had said earlier that we have safe swimmer buoys for anyone that needs it. Our safe swimmer buoys, I'm going to go off of share for a sec so I can show you. Oops, or I won't do that. There we go. All right. So our safe swimmer buoys are pretty big, and they do have a compartment so you can put stuff in right here. And then you just blow it up around your stuff. Doesn't have to be blown up all the way, it just needs to be blown up enough so that way, you know, you could hang on to it if you had to. My shoes are in here. Now you can fit a size 11 shoe. We fit Andy's shoes in here, and I think he's got like Hoka's or something. I've got a picture of it in a minute. But I've got some good size shoes. Mine are like 8.5, 9s. And they fit in here with a little extra room. And then I can seal it all the way up and then put that around, you know, put that around my waist. So we do have those. If your swim buoy doesn't fit your shoes, then you're going to want something else, whether it's ours or grab something else somewhere else. All right, let me go back to our share. All right. There we go. So there's Andy's shoes. They're pretty good. They've got like some pretty good sole to them. But here's the size, if that helps you with the swim buoy, so that you know, like, will my stuff fit in there? If not, I've seen people swim with dry bags. Just make sure they're sealed up all the way. And, you know, or you can use safe swimmer buoy that has a compartment in it. All right. Swimmers, you've got the orange buoys, and the paddler's going to have yellow buoys. You might have a triangular buoy. We also have some like cylinder yellow buoys. Those are all for paddlers. So, so if you'll look for that, that will make it easy when you're on the trail, and you can look down and you be like, oh, those are my buoys. I know I'm getting close, but also in the water, obviously, so you know where you're going. All right. Safari Adventures, as I'd mentioned before, they supply the paddle boards that you rent. And they do that so that way we can give more money to Dream Day Camp, which is a benefactor of this race. So, so they are extremely generous, and they have been since 2019 when we changed our format. And Ryan will not be able to race with us this year, but he's still supplying boards to those that have rented them. You know, super thank you to Safari. There's that USAT QR code again. So please, if you haven't done it yet, here's another chance. If you can take care of that. I'm going to take us off chat, off of share in a sec, and then I'm going to answer some questions with chat. All right. There we go. Okay. So we have a number of questions. Michael asked, tri-bike or not. If you want to use your tri-bike, you can. Keep in mind, you're not going to be able to be in arrows a lot. You're either going uphill or downhill almost the entire time. Downhill, please don't use your arrows. And then uphill, it's not really a benefit to you. But if that's the bike you have and you want to bring it, by all means. You can also bring a mountain bike. We've actually had a big cruiser bike one year too. So whatever bike that you have, that's no problem. You're riding it on the road though. So even if you have a mountain bike, you still have to ride it on the road. You may not cut through trails. So Susan asked, I'm assuming this has to do with team. A team has to be either a paddleboard or swim. You can't split up the team because you have to do everything together. So if you have a team and you've got 4 people and you've got 2 swimmers and 2 paddlers, break up into 2 teams. You can send a note to Maureen and she can help you with that. Or you can go solo. You will not be, this year in particular, there's a lot of times that you're not really on the same part of the course. And so there's no way of being able to do a team that's doing both swimming and paddling. Robert asked about bringing a phone. If you want to bring a phone to the course, that's no problem. Please do not put music on. I know music is lovely, but no earbuds and no music on your phone. We need you to be able to pay attention to what's going on around you, and it's hard to do that when you have something in your ears. David asked, David, I hate to tell you this. He asked me to confirm that the order of events are the same as a tri. They are absolutely not. This race is, the only similarity it has to a triathlon is that you swim, well, or paddle, bike, and you run. That is the only similarity. There are no signs telling you where to go. You have multiple runs. You have multiple swims or paddles. And you could have multiple bikes as well. So it's all mixed up. So if David, if you need more explanation, send Maureen a note and we can help you with that. Or help you defer to another race for next year. Sandy asked a really valid question. Do we leave our bike shoes with the bikes or run with them? You want, and this is actually a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. You'll want to leave your bike shoes and your helmet with your bike, because no matter what, those things you need with your bike, unless of course you're wearing just sneakers on, with your, instead with flat pedals, that's fine too. But your sneakers or your running shoes, you need to take those with you when you're on the bike. So that's another reason to have like a dry bag or a, what's the word? Or a backpack. Because you're going to need to have your shoes with you when you bike, because you're going to definitely need them at the other end of it. You can also, I've seen some people that they tie their laces together and they just hung them over their neck or, wherever they can on their bike where it's not going to get in the way. But you'll want your running shoes with you on the bike, but all of your bike components can all stay together, your helmet, your bike shoes. You'll want them actually when you plant your bike, plant all that stuff together. Because you'll need that. And if you want any nutrition and you're like, oh, I want to have a water bottle on my bike and I want to have some goo or whatever else, you can put all of that with your bike stuff. And that just saves you one less thing that you have to take around with you and just keep it all together. Pavithra, I think that I answered your question with music, no headphones. But if you want an iPhone, the GPS, I think that we've said in the past, it's not really going to help you. The reception's really bad there.
That enters into the question that someone else had about an iPhone.
Right, I already answered that iPhone, didn't I?
People can use an iPhone for GPS.
Oh, for GPS.
For position locating and for all trails.
Oh, that's a really good point. I forgot about all trails. We haven't had that before.
But
Yeah, you're right. So there's no using GPS, and it'll be obvious you did because you're going to be able to find your way faster than everybody else. So that's just not fair. And our maps are 8.5 by 11, and they're laminated, so they bend a little bit, but not completely. They do fit in the safe swimmer buoy that I showed you.
Someone asked about the dimensions of the swim buoy.
I can go back to that. I
just measured it.
Did you? I had a slide about it. Go ahead. What was the measurement?
But 17 by 10, but you should consider the fact that when you put something in it, that sort of changes the shape. So it could be a few inches shorter on each side.
So to that point, a few years ago, we tried it with your sneakers, size 11 running shoes. And so I showed them a picture of that when you were off doing something else. You remember it? Yeah, okay. All right. So I can go back to that slide if you want it. But certainly women's size 9 fits in without any problem, and 11, but it's a little smushy. All right. Do we need a bike with our sneakers if we use bike shoes, or do we come back to the same station to repark bikes? Susan, I'm not sure what you mean. Let me try again. Do we need bike with our sneaker? I think that was answering that question before. If you're wearing sneakers because you have flat pedals, so you don't have like bike shoes with all the clips, then you're just going to bring your sneakers, right? That's what you have. If you have bike shoes, you want the bike shoes and your helmet to be with your bike, and then you'll carry your shoes, your running shoes, with you for before and after that.
But there's no guarantee on how many bike legs there are.
Right.
Like and there's no guarantee on how many swim legs there are or run legs.
Right. And you, but if you keep all of your bike stuff together, obviously, if you're going to use your bike, everything's right there. So it's not like you have to like carry your helmet with you because you're going to need it somewhere else. You only need it on the bike. Robert asked, will the bikes start and end at the same place, or will it be one way? I can't tell you that. So you will have at least one bike segment, that I will tell you. So that's why I'm saying whatever you want to use on your bike itself is going to be with your bike when you plant your bike in the location that we give you on either Friday night. You can leave your bike Friday night. We do have security, or Saturday morning. You'll want all that bike stuff together. All right, so Alexander asked if there's a confusion with the USAT membership. The $6 is for a relay. This is not a relay. Everyone has individuals make up a team rather than a relay with a triathlon where the relay person's only doing one part of the race. So in this case, if you were to follow that QR code I had shown you, or the emails that you receive, it's only going to give you that $13 option, or at least that's what it's supposed to.
I think people who formed a team should realize that everyone does the race together as a team, the entire race. There isn't like, oh, I'll do the swim and you do the bike and you do the run.
That's actually really important. That goes along with it. Does it follow the triathlon model? Right. So everyone does everything together, as Andy said. So David asks, do the wristbands activate something or just looked at? This is just for our staff and volunteers to know where you've been. So this is our your way of proving that you've been to a checkpoint, with or without the carabiner. So by the time you get to the finish, you're going to have as many checkpoints as we have. You're going to have as many of these on your wrist or on a carabiner, and that's how we know that you've completed all the checkpoints.
Every swimmer is guaranteed a safe swimmer buoy.
Right, swimmers are, yes.
Dry bag and swim buoy, running shoes. Mario, you're going to see some people swim with their shoes on, but it's completely up to you. Some people will put their shoes into the swim buoy. Some people will put their shoes into a separate dry bag, the sort that you might buy at West Marine or, well, you can get them on Amazon, but.
Okay. And then Michael's question before that was, do we have to use a swim buoy? Or can we forego it and swim in our own sneakers? We have always required a swim buoy.
If you're a swimmer, you do need to tow a safe swimmer buoy, whether or not you have sneakers on while you're swimming.
There you go. Okay, and then and Andy just answered Muriel. But so she's asking a little bit more about that question. So she had asked about dry bag and swim buoy, or can we put the running shoes in the buoy for the bike? Oh, bike part of leg. Yeah, if you want to put your shoes in your safe swimmer buoy and while you're on the bike, so you have somewhere to put it, that's fine. You just need to attach that safe swimmer buoy somewhere on you, so that way it doesn't get in the way. We bring our shoes with us on the bike because you definitely want your shoes.
Yeah, keep in mind in the Nickerson State Park, it's impossible to bicycle on roads for more than 7 miles. So if there's only one bike, it's not going to be longer than 7 miles. So you may want to think about that from the standpoint of whether or not you want to put on bike shoes and take them off, or if you want to just race in sneakers and put flat pedals on your bike. That's part of the strategy here. You're thinking during the race, and you're also thinking before the race in the days leading up as to how best you want to handle it.
Right. Yeah, that's the fun. Okay. All right. So far, that is all the questions. Oh, I think we got a new question. Yeah, so Pavitra wrote, do we have to run with the safe swimmer buoy to keep it with us for a second swim? Possibly. Yes, actually, I'll tell you. You're going to want that safe swimmer buoy with you throughout the entire race. Actually, as I'm thinking through, and I can't tell you guys why I say so. But you're going to want that safe swimmer buoy with you. You'll see you in the map. So you'll see when you can finally ditch it. But you'll want to take it with you that's the best I can say. I wish I could give you better information, but I can't without giving something away.
If you do take it with you, you can deflate it if you wish, or leave it inflated. We see people do both.
Okay, so Susan asked if you're on a paddleboard, do you have to wear a life jacket, or is it a or is it a jacket or a buoy? So the whatever life jacket that you have, or if you want to use a safe, just attach a safe swimmer buoy to you. We only guarantee safe swimmer buoys for the swimmers. So if you have your own, or we happen to have extra, then you can use a safe swimmer buoy, just attach it to yourself and make sure it's blown up. Or just wear a PFD, which you're going to leave with your paddleboard. So whatever it is that you need with your paddleboard, paddle, PFD, you're going to leave right there with wherever it is that we tell you to leave your paddleboard before the race. So when you come to it, you'll have everything you need and you'll be able to go right into the water. Swimmers, you will not have that option to plant swimming gear, but luckily it's, goggles and a swim cap. So if that helps for the paddler, so you're leaving those sorts of things there, because obviously you only need that PFD when you're paddling.
Someone wants to know what the buoy
sure.
looks like again.
All right. I think, okay, yeah, so there we go. You see it? The mine's kind of, that one's mine's very dirty. Sorry about that. And it's got a, so this is really just for your waist. But I have found if I have this around my waist, and this is blown up, I can throw it over my shoulder and it stays pretty well, particularly if I've got something in there that's weighing it down. So you could try that. All right, so so you got
Question is, if we bring our own dry bag, do we still need a buoy?
no, we've had dry bags before and that's worked as long as it's got some air in it, so it stays.
As the
Floating.
safety device? Okay,
We've done that. As long as it can float. So Brian asked, when we say steep, how steep are we talking about? You might be able to say that without.
the park has within it some very steep hills, but it isn't, it really depends on what your experience has been. We've had some racers from Florida who can't believe how difficult the bike course is, and we have some New Englanders, particularly from northern New England, they're like, oh, this is a piece of cake. They can be steep at points, but they're usually for a short period of time. I can't imagine working hard for more than a minute and a half, and then you're going downhill. You think a little longer
Take a little longer than that. So Brian's asking, like, he's looking for like some kind of grade, so he has a better idea. He said like 10%, 15% higher. What do you think? I can't, what do you?
I don't think it's 10%.
Okay.
It's not that bad.
All
It's
right.
not Tour de France at all.
All right, like, I can't tell you where I was asking.
Somewhere I have that in my notes, but it would take me probably 10 minutes to go find it, so.
Okay. Yeah, Brian, not top of Mount Washington. That's pretty steep. So it's not that bad. But if you go to, you can go to, look at like Map My Ride, something like that. You can put in Nickerson and get some grades there. You can get the topography.
Yeah,
So
the old gut check courses in Map My Ride, and that will show the elevation at various points. And also, I think Ride with GPS is another way, another source to go take a look at it in advance.
oh, good. All right. So far, that's all. Oh, wait. Oh, got a thumbs up. The anyone have any other questions? I'm trying to think about what have I missed. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can't tell you, and so there's, okay, where's that line between what information do you need and what information can we not tell you until race day? I see Ashley Stansel, who's now walking away, has done this race several times. And so there might be something. Ashley, do you have any advice for anybody who might be on that hasn't raced this version of Gut Check?
Is she on mute?
She's coming off of mute. She's thinking about it.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, no, not really. I just think it's just much more of a like athletic scavenger hunt than it is a triathlon.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so,
Dogs allowed in the park?
dogs are allowed in the park, being a
That's
state
what I
park.
thought.
Yeah, yeah, we, spectating is fine, not racing. No dogs racing, please. Compasses are, that's a great question, John. John asked, are compasses supplied with the map? Yes. So every either solo member or a team will receive a whistle and a compass. It's not the best compass. I mean, we're giving it to you for free, but it is a compass that works. If you want like a really great compass, then bring one. But the map will have your like a little direction compass there, so at least you'll know what way's north from the map. And then we do have the smaller compasses and a whistle. So the whistle is for if you get really lost, start blowing your whistle, and eventually someone will find you. We have not had anyone have to blow their whistle, so that might give you some comfort. But you do have it just in case.
Smartphones have compasses.
Oh, that's
So
true.
there was a question about using a
Okay.
smartphone for navigation,
Okay.
how you handle
But we
that.
said, no, don't use navigation on your smartphone.
So this is an honor system.
This is an honor system. Yeah. So this is for anyone, just in case you guys aren't aware, this race is really a celebration of the season. So it's sometimes people really race. I think last year we had like the first two coming in, they were really racing. But for the most part, you're out there having a good time. Do you want to go like as fast as you can? Sure, of course. But it is an honor system. It's really just that way we all have a great time being outside and enjoying the fitness that we've worked so hard for all season. Question about paddle boards. Paddle boards can be dropped off the night before. That's Friday, 4:30 to 6. And you'll pick up your packet at that time too. And then wetsuits. Go ahead. You got another thing?
Security on the beach overnight,
Yes.
just mention it.
Okay.
There will be security at the beach overnight.
Right.
Couple of our lucky key managers will get to camp on a nice little beach Friday night.
Right. So that's what we do. We have our security there. We have security for the bikes as well. And then a question about swimmers needing wetsuit. If you want to wear a wetsuit, that's great. You don't have to. Water is like mid-60s. If you want to wear a tri-suit instead, that's fine too. Yeah, so it's just completely up to you. You don't have to wear it. Keep in mind that whatever you wear in the swim, you then have to carry with you. So so keep that in mind. Packet pickup is either Friday night or Saturday morning. So that's Friday night, 4:30 to 6, or Saturday morning, 7:30 to 8:30. If you're coming Saturday morning, I would not wait till 8:30. You're gonna have to drop off your bike. If you have a paddleboard, you have to drop that off. These are all in different parts of the park. And then you have to make it over to the start line. I give those maps out at 8:50. If you're late, you have less time to look at your map. And most people really do need that time to look it over and kind of create their, like their plan. So you'll want to make sure that you're there in time for that. You have any other things to think about? Okay.
No.
All right. Anyone have any other questions? I'm glad that this is like bringing up some other stuff that people are thinking about. Let's see. Here's another question Dave asked. Using your wit and planning sounds good. Can you say generally most use bike shoes? I think I would have to say, David, that I think that I've seen more bike shoes than non-bike shoes. I like bike shoes just from the hills, so that way, I can better for me. But I think that it depends on what works for you. As Andy was saying, it's not, I mean, the bike course can only be so long. So, if you don't feel like you need bike shoes, then that's one less thing you have to worry about. You just have your running shoes.
I would go with running shoes, but that's just
Yeah,
me.
right. So I mean, everyone's different. Right?
And maybe, but they're hard to find nowadays, and it's too late probably to order them. But there are larger flat pedals like pyro platforms and the such where you can really get the full force of your foot into each pedal stroke, as well as the upstrokes. But it's not that long of a bike when you think about Well, I guess it depends on who's racing. This might be a long bike for a lot of people. It's a short bike, I think, for a lot of the triathletes in the in the crowd here. So
Okay, the water, Sarah, I will take the water temp in the next day or so. Again, so that way you've got official, we'll put it we'll put on the website. We added to the website like that little schedule, little abbreviated schedule, so I can add the water temp there as well. Share a decent version of the trail map, better than the state park official. I know the state park official map isn't very good, is it?
you just worked on it this afternoon.
No, but there's the one that for the state park, I think that I've got it, here in the back of my, here, let me show you two and you tell me what you think. So this is the one that your checkpoints are built off of. So, but I added this, so this, these trails right here are all like they're considered like the bike path, so they're paved. And it's really helpful for you to be able to know, oh wait, I'm on a paved trail, I've got to be somewhere in this, in this little system. Rather than what they had, this map has like little dots everywhere to be like, that's a trail, but then you don't know if it's paved or not paved. And then the white is roads, which you have to stay off of. So this is the one that we have, and I can't remember where we found it originally, but if this is helpful, I can send it to you. Here's the one that Nickerson has, and it's just totally not helpful. That doesn't even show all of the trails. Is this the one that you have? That might be it, in which case it's not very helpful. There is also All Trails has a map.
Taking a look
And
at
you're
it.
looking that way. My problem with the All Trails map is that it didn't show the roads, it just showed the trails, which then you got to kind of figure out how those go together. But there's also one that Dawn shared with me yesterday, which was the Mountain Bike Association. They've got a really great trail map, which is good for you to look at like at home. It would be hard to print that and add all the checkpoints for you guys to see, I think, but for you to be able to get an idea beforehand, that's a great map.
All Trails has the paved
Does it?
roads in white.
Oh, I see.
And the others, if you want
Okay.
it to be shared. But-
Is that,
Or just go to alltrails.com.
can you just cut and paste that and throw it in chat? Like your link right there. Okay, so Andy's gonna throw the All Trails in the chat. So Robert asked, oh wait, there we go. Will biking be allowed only on roads or allowed on only paved bike trails or some mysterious combo? Biking is only allowed on the roads themselves. You cannot use a bike on I know it says bike trail, but no bikes on the paved path. That's what we're calling it. Only on the roads themselves.
But running's okay on the paved bike paths.
Right. So if I went back to
But
here,
biking's only on roads, right?
right. So here, I'm going to back up one if I can. There you go. So if we're using this as our example, you can run on anything orange. Those are paved paths, but you cannot bike on those. You can bike on white, which is roads. So you'll be able to bike on that, but you cannot bike on anything else. We don't want bikes hitting runners, obviously. So for a runner, you can run on this orange, and that will be on your map. It'll be in the legend. It will say orange is the paved path. That's okay. And then all of this gray, it's kind of brownish. Those are all trails throughout, and you're welcome to run on any of those trails that you wish. All right.
Don mentioned that there's also a map on the New England Mountain Bike Association website.
That was the one I was referring to. Can you throw that link in there too? Oh, you have to
see
find it
if-
first.
See if I
Okay.
can get to it.
Okay, so Andy will find the Nickerson map on, it took me a little bit yesterday to find it and see if you,
All right, and then I'll just put
Okay.
in the
Okay.
address of the organization.
okay. All right, so Andy's gonna put that, it's like NIMBA, the New England Mountain Biking Association. He'll stick that in chat as well. So John asked about details for starting location and bike drop-off location. We will send an email. Hopefully we'll get that out tomorrow, and it will say essentially what we've been saying here. So Friday, pack and pickup is 4:30 to 6, come to area 6. Or Saturday morning, that is from 7:30 to 8:30, and you'll check in at the parking lot when you first pull into Nickerson State Park, and you make a right. There's a big parking lot right there, and just go all the way to the end of that parking lot. Okay,
Yeah.
so Andy's got a few things in there, different links for you guys if you want a better map.
Mariel asked about will there be a gut check, where there'll be a mountain bike.
It'll be
And
fun.
I can answer
Yeah.
that. Mariel, before the gut check, so now we're talking about the period between 2000 and 2010. The Dream Day Camp, which is a summer camp for seriously ill children, and they are the beneficiary of this race. The Dream Day Camp did have a race that was a combination of mountain biking and running and either canoeing or paddling. And what we found, because I was involved with the organization at that time and helped design the course, what we found is that more people have road bikes or like to ride bikes on the road, I guess, because we never got more than 40 or 45 participants in that race. And by the time it's over and all the expenses are paid, there just wasn't that much money left over for the Dream Day Camp. So we kind of have to sort of stick with this, I think, with the road bike. You can ride a mountain bike, but
But on the roads, it's not like fun.
but on the roads, yeah, just we could try it one year and see if we get more than that 45 that we
We
had
might,
in
well.
the past. But we'd hate to. No one likes to lose money on things, so.
Well, though, that Muriel, I think to where you're going, with this, there has been a lot more interest in off-road biking. The mountain bikes are,
Gravel bikes,
gravel
mountain
bikes, yeah,
bikes.
things like that. So maybe in the next year or so, that would be a good idea. Okay, so I think that we have answers. Is there anybody else? Is there anything else that has not been answered that that you're burning to know? Remember, we're going to record, or this is being recorded, and it will be put on the gutchecktriathlon.com website. Will be partway down. So if you have a friend or a teammate that wasn't able to join us tonight, please send them there. You'll definitely want them to understand how this race goes about. We don't want to surprise them race morning and go, oh, by the way, there's no signs. You're going to figure out how you're going. So, so it'd be really important that they take a little bit of time and watch the recording.
The fellow who had thought his team would be a mix of swimmers and paddlers. I wasn't here. Did you suggest that perhaps they break up the teams, which can be done at a late moment, and then have a solo one person and two people, something else or whatever?
Right.
The other way.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, oh, that was Susan. Susan, you've asked some questions since then. So just send a note to Maureen at NE Events, which is the very top of the chat. And she can help you just split up the team, so that way you've got swimmers or paddlers, or if you need help switching within your athlete account, so that way if one of you wants to switch, we could do that. All right, so I'm going to scan all the way down and make sure we've got everybody. Oh, there's another question. What's the breakdown of swimmers versus paddleboarders? Some years we have like 50-50. This year there's a significantly more swimmers than there are paddleboarders. So if you do like competition, or at least you like, getting on the podium, then switch over to boarding because there's more, there's less paddleboarders than there. But it will be a really fun day on Saturday. So there are a few places if you have spectators. We didn't mention anything about spectators. If you have spectators, it's not completely a spectator friendly race just because you guys are in the woods a lot. But we do have a few places for the spectators. And once the race starts, you will see me at the race start. I will send you all off as you start your race. And all the spectators that left, I will give them, because I can't tell you guys where they are now. I can give them the best advice to where they can go, where they can see you at different points throughout the race. So just tell your spectators to come, and then just stick around after you guys go off, and I'll let them know. Yeah, you have anything else you think? No? All right. We really appreciate you guys being on tonight, and we appreciate you registering for the gut check. So we'll have lots of fun on Saturday. Usually we get through the race, and at the finish line, whether it's raining or not, which this time it's not supposed to rain at all. But no matter what, people are always smiling and laughing, and they have all these stories to tell about, what they did or didn't do, and they wish they did, and what have you. And it's just a lot of fun. So I'm so glad that you guys are a part of that. You have a terrific night, and we will see you either Friday night from 4:30 to 6, or we'll see you Saturday morning starting at 7:30. Thank you.